Subscribe for more.
I never imagined that something as simple as a disagreement could spiral into the kind of chaos that makes you question everything you thought I knew about trust, loyalty, and marriage. My name is Derek Collins. I'm 38, and I've been married to Sophia Harper for 10 years. By all accounts, we had a solid marriage. Not perfect, but strong. We shared a home in suburban Ohio, a dog named Baxter, and a rhythm to our lives that worked. Work, bills, and occasional weekend trips kept us busy, but I thought we had a partnership grounded in mutual respect. I thought I knew the boundaries. I was wrong. It started on a Tuesday evening, of all nights. Sophia had invited her best friend, Ethan Marsh, over for dinner. I'd met him before, of course, but our interactions were always polite, surface level. There was a friendly familiarity, but nothing that suggested I needed to tread lightly or feel intimidated. That night, as soon as Ethan arrived, I noticed a subtle shift in Sophia's demeanor. She was unusually quiet, tense, and kept glancing at her phone. I assumed she was preoccupied with work messages, so I didn't mention it. Dinner was fine at first. Ethan was lively, joking about his new job at the architecture firm, telling stories about his latest hiking trip. I tried to join in, but every time I offered an opinion or shared a story from my week at the construction site, I felt like it was dismissed almost subconsciously. It wasn't overt, not in a mean-spirited way, just a quiet lack of acknowledgement. By the time dessert came, I had noticed that Ethan seemed to be taking a subtle, but unmistakable, lead in the conversation. Sophia laughed at everything he said, almost automatically, and I felt myself shrinking in the corner of my own dining room. After Ethan left, I thought I'd bring up what had been bothering me. "Sophia," I said cautiously, "I don't know if it's just me, but I felt invisible tonight." I tried to join in, but it felt like my voice didn't matter. Her response was immediate, almost rehearsed. "Derek, you're overreacting. Ethan didn't mean anything by it. You just need to apologize to him for making him uncomfortable earlier." I froze. Apologize? For what? I had only spoken honestly about my feelings. Yet suddenly, I was being told I'd somehow wronged her best friend. "Sophia, I don't understand. I didn't do anything to him. I just said I felt left out." She gave me a look that mixed frustration and exasperation. "Derek, you upset him. I don't care if you think it's small. You need to make it right. Now." For the first time in our marriage, I felt that sharp, sinking feeling, the kind of gut-level unease that makes you step back and reassess everything. I wanted to argue, to insist that I hadn't done anything wrong, but something about her tone made it clear that resistance wasn't an option. I nodded silently, though inside I was boiling. I sent Ethan a text, awkwardly phrasing my apology in a way that sounded like I genuinely thought I'd caused offense. His response was polite but brief, thanking me for acknowledging it. Over the next few days, a tension settled over our home. Every interaction I had with Sophia felt filtered through the lens of that dinner, as if I were walking on eggshells in my own house. She started referencing the incident at odd times, reminding me that he was still upset and I should keep him in mind next time. It wasn't just the one dinner. It became a recurring expectation. My opinions, my decisions, my autonomy in conversations were subtly, but unmistakably, diminished whenever Ethan was involved. The tipping point came a week later. I had a day off and was planning to tackle some repairs in the garage. Sophia called me inside to discuss her weekend plans, but the conversation quickly veered toward Ethan. She was upset because he hadn't responded to a group text fast enough, and she expected me to step in and smooth things over. "Derek," she said, "you need to make him feel appreciated. He's my friend, and I can't have him thinking I tolerate disrespect." My chest tightened. I had been trying to support her, to show love and patience, but now it felt like my loyalty was being redirected toward a man who was essentially a guest in our lives. I left the room quietly, took a deep breath, and sat in the garage. Baxter jumped up beside me, sensing my agitation. I thought back to the last 10 years, my consistent presence, my efforts to maintain our home, my sacrifices for family vacations, bills paid on time, the quiet patience I had exercised in stressful moments. And now, all of it seemed secondary to a mandate to placate someone else. For the first time, I felt entirely invisible in my own marriage, not because Sophia had stopped loving me, but because she was prioritizing another man's feelings over my dignity. The next day, I decided I needed clarity. I calmly asked Sophia to sit with me after dinner. "I need to understand something," I began. "Why is Ethan's comfort more important than my honesty, my feelings, my presence in this marriage?" She paused, eyes narrowing slightly. "Derek, you don't get it. If I have to manage my friendships and your sensitivities at the same time, something has to give. And that means you need to adapt." I felt the weight of that sentence like a physical blow. Adapt. Submit. Validate someone else's perspective over my own. I stayed silent for a long moment, letting the words sink in. I realized that this wasn't about a minor disagreement or a single evening. It was a pattern where my feelings, my autonomy, and my emotional safety were consistently secondary to her friendships and her validation. I had spent years building a life of stability and trust, only to find that those foundations could be disregarded with a single sentence. "You need to apologize." That night, I slept on the couch for the first time in over a decade. It wasn't anger that kept me awake, but a quiet, simmering clarity. I started reflecting on every instance where I had compromised, every moment I had ignored my own discomfort to maintain peace. And for the first time, I understood that compromise and submission were not the same thing. Respect, mutual regard, and boundaries were not negotiable. Over the next few days, I began setting boundaries gently but firmly. I stopped offering unsolicited apologies to Ethan. I limited my engagement in conversations that centered solely around his opinions or experiences. I spoke less in moments where my voice would be discounted and allowed my presence to speak for itself. And slowly, I noticed a shift. Sophia's expectations became clearer, more rigid, but I also became more grounded. I stopped questioning my own worth and started validating my own boundaries. 3 weeks later, Sophia confronted me, frustrated. "Derek, you're being distant. You're not participating the way you used to." I looked at her calmly and said, "I'm still here. I'm still committed. But I won't apologize for simply being myself. I won't compromise my dignity to maintain someone else's comfort at your expense." She blinked, and for the first time in a long while, I saw something in her eyes: surprise, recognition, maybe even a hint of understanding that the person she married, the one who had been quiet, patient, loyal, was not someone to be overridden lightly. I won't say everything is perfect now. We still have arguments. We still navigate the delicate balance between friendships and marriage, but I feel different, stronger, clearer. I know that my emotional energy and my presence are not secondary, and I've learned that being calm, firm, and grounded carries far more weight than constant concession. Ethan is still a friend in her life, but he no longer has a role that undermines my dignity. And I finally sleep through the night without that hollow pit in my chest, knowing that respect and loyalty are things that cannot be demanded from me. They must be mutual. Looking back, I realized that the real betrayal wasn't Ethan or even Sophia. It was allowing a pattern to persist where my voice, my presence, and my integrity were dismissed. Setting boundaries and standing firm doesn't make you cold or unloving. It simply restores the balance that was quietly lost. And sometimes, the hardest lessons in marriage come not from the fireworks, but from the silent erosion of respect and the quiet, deliberate reclaiming of it.